Hello folks, and welcome to another Don't Cry Wolf video blog. As always, I'd love to see your comments, so please do leave them below. If you do like this video, please feel free to give this a thumbs up. So today I want to talk about expectation management. Now, I think it's one of the toughest things to handle in the industry. It's one of the toughest skills to sort of master effectively, and yet it's probably one of the most important skills to learn early on in a PR manager's career. So let's start with a little scenario. Hi there, I'm Tarquin. I've just developed a Facebook killer in my lovely flat in Kings Road, and what I'm looking for are 100,000 users in 1 month, and I want to be in the FT. That's interesting, Tarquin. How many users do you have now? We have 10 users now, but my girlfriend thinks this is fabulous. While this may sound like an exaggerated example, I can assure you that the only thing that has changed in that scenario is the name. It is still also pretty commonplace to get some of these slightly deluded questions come through. And it's not just from a sort of agency client perspective. This happens in-house as well. I know plenty of PR managers and PR directors in-house who tear their hair out as their CEO comes striding up to their desk and demands that they're on Newsnight tonight to talk about Brexit. But here's the kicker. A lot of people indulge in the fantasy rather than cut it off. Now, you don't have to do this brutally or in an aggressive fashion, but it is important that you do this. It is important that you start managing expectations right from the beginning. So for those looking to have those harder conversations and work out the best way to do that, what I thought I'd do is share a few thoughts on how I think you can best handle expectations and some of the most effective ways to manage them. Okay, so first and foremost, there is nothing wrong with the gut feel. What the gut feel is your brain going over all the scenarios, all of the different elements and different similarities that you've had in your experience and throwing out a particular sort of emotion or feeling based on previous data. That's not a bad source of information, to be honest. And actually, if you do have a gut feel response to how something is being suggested or the expectation that is being placed on you, it's important that you start to air that. And what you can do then is suggest that you've got a feeling that this doesn't feel quite right, and then actually what you're looking for is to go away, do a bit of exploration, a bit of fact finding to identify whether or not it's a good idea that the CEO of a basket weaving company in Ipswich should have that expectation to be on the Today programme talking about the global economy and the Syrian conflict. Okay, so the second tip is be timely. There is nothing worse than retrospective expectation management. In fact, it's a recipe for disaster. It shows a lack of commitment on your part and a lack of initial knowledge and strategy on your part, and it's going to get enormously frustrating for the client or your boss that you're representing when you keep moving the goalposts. Be brave enough to have that tough conversation first, engage in that bit of healthy conflict, and then move on with confidence that you've both aired your views, you both have a clear understanding of the direction that the project is going in, and then move forward. Okay, so the third tip is to actually go and get some evidence. So sometimes decades of experience is not enough. People need the stats and the facts and the figures to believe in what you're saying. And to be honest, that's fair enough. You do need to go and back up some of your arguments, some of your perhaps concerns with some meat behind it, with some evidence behind it. The thing is, don't let that evidence go to waste. Keep it on file, keep it in a folder somewhere on your desktop, and keep referring back to it if you need to. Actually, one of the things that I found particularly useful was bookmarking stats and facts and news snippets and articles as I just went about my day-to-day job. The idea being that sometimes I might need some evidence that I have picked up or some interesting stat that I've picked up to back up an argument I'm making. For example, an argument around the fact that Pinterest might not be the best place to go after 70-year-old builders who are also members of the BNP. Okay, so the final tip around this is don't be pushed into an agreement. I think this particularly happens on conference calls. In a face-to-face scenario, there's a little bit more engagement, you can read people a bit better, but on conference calls or telephone calls, it's quite easy to be pushed into a quick agreement with someone. The idea here is to pause and take a breath. If you're being asked to do something that you think is mildly absurd or you're not quite sure whether it's effective, don't say yes. Sure, you might have 30 odd people on a conference call and feel as though you're losing face when you're putting a sort of holding pattern in place and saying that you'll get back to the individual asking the request with some evidence, some experience and your thoughts. And you might feel a little inferior to Janice from Milwaukee, who on that conference call has said yes to absolutely everything. But I can guarantee you it's going to be Janice who's going to have that awkward review in 6 months, not you. So there you go. Those are my tips for managing expectations. How have you found expectation management? What are some of the challenges that you've been facing and some of the tools or tips that you deploy when you need to manage expectations of someone who might be particularly aggressive about their opinion? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please do leave your comments below, and I look forward to seeing you next time.